Welcome to A Pair of Bookends, the book club you can carry anywhere. I'm your host, Hannah MacDonald, and I'll be bookending the conversation with some of the most exciting voices from the bookish world. Hello and welcome back to Books to Screen, the series where I invite bookish guests to join me for deep dives into my favourite topic, book adaptations. Joining me for today's episode is the incredible Susie Green, host of the brilliant podcast In My Good Books. Susie started her journey into the book world in 2021 with her Instagram at Susie's Book Reviews, where she reviewed books from a wide range of genres, from contemporary fiction to crime novels to memoirs and more. She is an incredibly well-read person and someone you can absolutely rely on for book recommendations, which is why it's unsurprising that she has found success in the books podcasting space. In June last year, Susie dropped her first episode of In My Good Books and has since interviewed around 100 guests, with episodes featuring authors like Catriona Ward, Tracy Sierra, Alexandra Potter, to other book podcasters like Philippa Hall from Quick Book Reviews, to prizes, festivals and book reviewers. She covers all aspects of the bookish world, and with a combination of that lineup of guests, Susie's warm and charming interview style and that gorgeous Scottish accent, it was inevitable that her podcast would frequent the top 100 UK book podcast charts. Her latest mini-series on the podcast, Reading is Political, is an important exploration of whether what we read and who we read shapes our perception of the world, and alongside her guests, Susie invites us to diversify the books and authors we read to help us gain empathy and understanding in an increasingly divided world. Susie is joining me today to discuss one of the hottest films of the year, and I think it's safe to say it can now be considered one of the most successful books to screen adaptations, with a 94% Rotten Tomatoes score, and that is Project Hail Mary, a science fiction novel written by Andy Weir, published in 2021. It has now been adapted this year for screen by Drew Goddard, directed by Phil Lord and Chris Miller, with Ryan Gosling leading the cast as science teacher and molecular biologist Dr. Ryland Grace. According to CNBC, Amazon MGM's Project Hail Mary has surpassed $300 million at the global box office, making it the studio's highest grossing film of all time. There's loads to discuss, so let's get into it. Susie Green, welcome to A Pair of Bookends.
Oh, that was an amazing introduction. Thank you. I'm so glad this is recorded and I can just listen back when I'm feeling a bit down on myself. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
I am so excited to have you. I've gone so hot doing that because it's so embarrassing having to read an introduction for another book podcast.
No, I was just in awe of your brilliant ability to do that without stumbling. Because I maybe thought when I listened to the podcast that was like a pre-record and then you would stick that on at the start.
No, babes,
no,
all in front of the guests.
Wow.
But I have said to you that before we dive into Project Hail Mary, I have got a quick fire for you. Quick fire questions on adaptations. Are you ready, Susie?
I am ready.
Okay. So what is your personal favourite best adaptation?
This was very difficult, but I have gone with Misery by Stephen King.
Oh, I haven't seen this.
Oh my God, it's amazing. It is, I think, one of those adaptations where it is as good on screen as the book.
Is it Kathy?
Yeah, Kathy Bates.
Kathy Bates, yes.
Yeah, Kathy Bates plays Annie Wilkes, who is a super fan of an author who's played by James Caan. They're both amazing in it. And I think if I remember correctly, his car breaks down in the kind of middle of nowhere. She kind of lives there, takes him in for the night, but he wakes up and he's kind of bound to the bed essentially because she's discovered who he is. She's a total super fan. And, you know, it's a classic Stephen King like horror, but psychological horror rather than, you know, anything sci-fi or anything like that. It is absolutely brilliant. It is dark. It's very dark, some of the stuff that happens in it.
But that sounds a bit more up my street because I've actually only read Carrie of Stephen King's and that's it, which is shocking, I know. But even that, I read that, I think, 2 or 3 years ago. But Misery sounds a lot more up my street. I'm always afraid of horror. I don't go near it. I occasionally have, you know, I've read the odd horror novel, like things like The Lamb, that weirdly seemed more accessible, even though it's like really unsettling and gruesome. But yeah, my boyfriend is constantly trying to get me to watch horror films with him, and I find them really difficult to get through sometimes. And he wants to watch them while we're eating, and I'm like, I can't eat and watch this. Like, my stomach is in knots here. But Misery sounds sounds like it could be my cup of tea because I do like a bit of psychological
Yeah,
stuff.
it's
So.
not supernatural, Stephen King whatsoever. It's psychological thriller, basically about a stalker who gets access to her, the guy who she's a super fan of, and
Mm.
what she will do to keep him with her, basically.
This sounds.
But yeah, it's really, really good. And something that I like about it, I was having a little look before I came on, and it's 107 minutes long, which I just think is the
Bring them
perfect length
back.
for a movie. Yes,
Bring that
absolutely.
time back. Come on.
On the whole, I am fed up with 3 hour movies. It doesn't need to be that long. So this one is perfect. And the book is actually really good as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I would recommend both, but a really brilliant adaptation.
I will have to get to that. What is, in your opinion, best character casting?
So I have gone for Angelica Houston in The Witches.
Ooh.
Have you seen it?
No,
The
I've
The
not.
Roald
No.
Dahl.
No,
No,
I've
have you
not
not?
seen it.
Have you not
No.
seen it?
Oh my God,
Oh
I've
my
not.
God.
No.
I'm shocked. I thought this was like something everyone would have seen. So,
No.
the Roald Dahl book, The
Yes, yeah.
Witches,
Yeah.
and there's a movie adaptation
Is
of
this an
that.
old one or
Yes, it
yes?
is old. I'm forgetting maybe you're so much younger than me, dear. But but still, I thought you would have seen. It's like on telly every year, like Christmas. I don't know why it would be on
No,
as a
I
Christmas
haven't
because it's
seen
quite
it.
it's quite scary for a kids movie.
It's ringing a bell, but I'm not sure. Let me get this up. Let me see.
Yeah,
Let me see
have a
what we're
look.
working with. The Witches. There is. See, what I'm thinking of is the 2020 film, the 2020 adaptation that has Anne Hathaway in it.
Oh no,
That was The
no,
Witches, so not that one.
no. I Let's
Okay.
have a look.
The 1990 film.
Yeah, were you even born?
Oh my God, I wasn't. No. I was born 5 years later.
Oh my God. Okay, fair enough. I
Oh,
will
I
let
think
you
I
off.
have. I have seen.
Yeah.
Maybe I've not watched it, but I have definitely seen clips from it. Yeah. Sorry.
And
Continue.
she plays the Grand High Witch in it, and she is absolutely terrifying in the book. And I just think it's a perfect casting. But the other one that I did have, I'll tell you my second choice,
Okay.
and it's a guilty pleasure of mine. I did consider it for my best adaptation. It's Robert Pattinson as Edward Cullen in Twilight.
Stunning. Stunning.
Yes. Yes, I think he is just absolutely amazing in it. I'm not really attracted to Robert Pattinson, but Edward Cullen, absolutely.
And that
Yes.
that is your God-given right to. Do you know what? I've been having this discussion so much at work recently because I was actually a Jacob girl when I was younger.
Oh,
Was very
okay.
into Jacob, and then now I look back and I'm like, he is so unbelievably cringy in that film. Why
Oh,
did I fancy him
awful.
over? Over Edward Cullen?
And
I
it all
can't
gets
even.
very weird when he
Yeah.
imprints on the baby and
Oh,
stuff.
it's
Yeah.
so strange. I don't know why
Yeah.
on earth I fancied him over Edward Cullen. Yeah, unhinged behaviour from me.
Yeah. No, I was
Um,
always Team Edward.
and you were right to be Team Edward. Yeah.
Mm,
He's
hmm.
recently said that it was nobody was ever Team Jacob. He said that in the press tour for the drama, the new film, and he was like, nobody was ever Team Jacob. It was a marketing thing. And I was like,
Mm.
actually, I was, and I regret my choice. Anyway, an adaptation that you would love to see.
This is probably quite a niche one, to be honest. I
Let's
was
hear
trying
it.
to think what I would like to see. This is a book that I read and loved last year, and it's called The Book of Guilt by
I
Catherine
still need
Chidgey.
to read this. I've heard so many good
Oh,
things.
it is so good. If you like A Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro, it's got that vibes
Yes.
about it. It's basically about these triplets that live in this kind of mysterious, well, not mysterious, but yeah, it's a bit mysterious kind of house. Part of what's called the government sycamore scheme, and we don't really know what that is at the start of the book. They've got the mothers that watch over them. They've got mother morning, mother afternoon, and mother
Yes.
night. So something weird is going on, and they have to kind of like record their nightmares in the book of dreams, and they have their lessons from the book of knowledge, and their sins get reported in the book of guilt, which is what the book's named after. But as the boys start to get a little bit older, they realize, things aren't quite right, and all they want to do is go to Margate. Funnily enough, that's like the dream destination that is kind of told to everyone. When people leave the house, it says, oh, they're going to Margate. There is very much vibes of they're going to the sausage factory going on here for like the dog leaving the house. So, but you'll
Hmm.
have to read it. But it is such a brilliant story,
Yeah.
but one that I could really visualize. And I am not a visual reader.
Right. Okay.
I don't know if I have that aphantasia, but I definitely do not have the ability to read like some people do, where it kind of comes alive in their mind and they can see everything. I just look at the words and I read the words and the words make the
That's
story.
crazy.
Yeah. Are you visual?
I can definitely see everything going on in my head. I'm playing it out like a scene. And I don't know if that's like the actor in me that like is visualizing it as like, how would this look on screen? Or like, it's, yeah, I definitely can see things going on. But it's weird because I don't necessarily see faces. It's like the
Mm.
outline of the face or like, I don't know. It's not like I've not pinned specific people to it, unless, of course, I'm aware that there's somebody that's been cast in that role, and then maybe that'll make me think of them. But yeah, I'm definitely a visual
Yeah. See, I
reader.
struggle to understand that almost. Because I
That's
just really
crazy.
doesn't work like that for me. But every now and again, I will read a book that feels more visual.
Mm,
And this was one of them. I could really visualize the boys and the mothers and the house that they were in. And, they go into the town and things like that. And even that felt really visual to me, which is why I've chosen this one. But it is an absolutely amazing 5-star read as well. And so I would highly recommend you get onto
yes,
that one.
I need to get to that one ASAP.
Hmm.
Do you read before you watch?
Not necessarily.
Hmm.
I don't usually go out of my way to read something before watching it, to be
Fair.
honest. Doesn't bother me. I don't mind reading something afterwards.
Oh, really?
Yeah, not straight away. And maybe more so with a movie than with like a TV adaptation,
Yes.
because that's been out for longer. You get more hours, so you might have got more of the story. But yeah, no, I don't necessarily. If I've got it on my shelf and I've been meaning to get round to reading it for a while, I might try and read it because I know I might not read it otherwise. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's not that important to me.
No, I agree with that. I think it's difficult sometimes when the rights, like the film and TV rights, have been swooped up before the book's even been published.
Mm.
So
Hmm.
there's a book that has come to mind, Margot's Got Money Troubles by Ruthie Thorpe, I think it is, and I think that was published last year. And then the paperback's come out. I've just got hold of the paperback, and the TV series is coming out like next month. So with that, I've missed my window of reading it, but I'm definitely going to read the book because it's on my shelf before I
Yeah.
watch the TV
Yeah.
series. And obviously that's going to be covered on this series. But yeah, it's one of them. I think you can't possibly read everything before you watch it. But I think sometimes if you've had that book on your shelf for ages and you've been meaning to get to it, you're like, I can't,
Mm.
I can't go and see
I
the thing
think
before reading it.
I think sometimes as well, like TV adaptations aren't necessarily as good.
Mm,
There's been a few that I've seen and I'm like, oh, I don't think that's done the book all that many favors.
fair,
And then
yeah.
that might put me off reading the book.
Yes, that
So
makes
I
sense.
would try and read it if I owned it beforehand.
An upcoming adaptation that you're excited for, or one that you've loved recently?
I've got two, if that's okay.
Amazing, let's hear
They're,
them.
they're, they're both upcoming. And one, I haven't actually read the book of this, but it's Rivals series two.
Oh my God, I've not read the book, but the series is so good.
Yes, isn't it? I
I'm so glad
absolutely
you've
love
mentioned
it.
this. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
amazing.
so that's out on the 15th of May on Disney Plus, and I cannot wait. I absolutely loved the first series, and I didn't think it would be really up my street,
Yes,
and that's why I've never read the books because those were the books that like my mum read.
same, yeah.
They were around the house, and I just assumed they weren't for me, but I maybe would read the book now. So yeah, so that's an adaptation that I haven't read, but I'm really looking forward to the second series coming out. And then the one that I have read is Dissection of a Murder by Joe Murray.
Oh, I've not read this.
It's not actually out yet.
Oh,
So that might be why. This one
amazing.
here. So I picked up this proof in Harrogate last year, so last July. And when I got the proof and I saw the book wasn't coming out until May this year, I was like, this feels like this is going to be a big deal,
Mm,
because you're getting the proof so
yeah.
early. And they'd made quite a splash about it at Harrogate. So the book is coming out in May. This is our debut novel.
Oh,
And
wow.
before the book is even out, it has been snapped up by Apple TV. And it's going to be the second series of Presumed Innocent. Jake Gyllenhaal was in the
Oh my
first
God, yes.
series. The kind of standalone series, a bit like True Detective, where it's a different story each
And
time.
that's going to be the second.
That's going to be the second one. And
Oh
this
my
is,
God.
again, another 5-star read, a real page-turning legal thriller. Really exciting book. So Jo, who wrote it, she was a barrister, and her main character in it is a barrister as well. She's like Jo's like working class from the north, and
Love
that's
that.
kind of that's the kind of barrister she portrays in this as well. And basically the story is that she's given a defendant, somebody she's represented previously, but he's refusing to talk. So he's been tried for murder, but he's
Right.
refusing to speak until he's on the stand, even to his own legal team.
Oh my God.
And this is her first murder case. And as if that wasn't enough, the person that she's up against is actually her husband, who is a KC.
Oh my
So
God.
honestly, it's
This
so
sounds
good.
so good. What the
Yeah,
heck?
I took this on holiday last year and I like read it in a day.
I'm not
It's just
surprised.
it's like one of those you can just like consume. It's so good, so clever. So recommend the book, but definitely look out for that on Apple TV as well.
Oh my God. I've seen the first season of that, so
Yeah, it's really
I'll
good.
definitely watch that. I feel like I need to read
Yeah,
that book as well.
you
We're
should.
supposed to be doing quick fire, but I'm so obsessed with everything you
Sorry.
recommend. Please don't be sorry. I'm the one that's like wanting to
I can
dive
give you
into
just a
everything.
quick fire answer next
No,
if you
it's
want.
me being a nightmare. An author that you think would be great at writing for screen.
Chris Whitaker.
Still not read Chris Whitaker. Terrible. Is it All the
Oh,
Colours of the Dark? And
yes,
yes,
yes, and We Begin at the End, which is actually my favorite of his.
I've heard this and I've got it on my wish list. So yeah, I need to get that.
They're both really good, but again, very visual books, both set in like America. He's British. You would never know that from reading the book. You would assume he's like born and bred American. Very visual. And I think part of that is from hearing him speak. When he writes his books, he like really like immerses himself in the culture. Like he will have sounds on from like the area that
Oh
he is
wow.
writing about. He will have a monitor with a screen of just like pictures of the place that he's in.
That's
And it's
amazing.
all really, really visual and kind of sensory the way he writes the
Hmm.
book. So you'd feel like immersed in the setting of the book. And I think he's a great writer. He like writes with like short chapters, and I think that works well for screen
Love a short
adaptations
chapter.
as well.
Yes, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, lots of different characters and points of view, and just like really clever, interesting, like twisty books. So yeah,
Oh, I definitely need to read those.
good.
It sounds like it would be great. An adaptation that you hated.
Wow, this was really tough, and I'm gonna have to caveat this one by saying
Okay.
I didn't hate it at first, but I grew to hate it in the
Okay.
end, and it's The Handmaid's Tale.
Really?
Yes, and I really loved the first three series. And I know really after series one, it's not a true adaptation of the book,
Yeah.
but it just felt it went off in this crazy, wild direction that
Yeah.
I didn't like. And it actually like put me off the series as a whole.
Oh wow.
Did you
See,
like it? Have you?
I adored the first two seasons, and then I
Mm,
feel like I was halfway through the third season and then just stopped
it was the
watching. So
third
it could be
season
that,
that,
yeah,
yeah,
the
for
same thing could have
me.
happened to me, but I did think that the first two seasons were incredible.
Did struggle on for a little bit, but I was like, oh, this is terrible. And it totally put me off. Because I love the book. I think it's
Yes,
such an
yeah.
amazing
It's
book.
one of
And
my
I did
favorites,
really,
yeah.
really like the first couple of series of it. But the series as a whole, I wasn't a fan of,
So fair.
sadly.
That is a great roundup of recommendations and not recommendation at the end. But there's definitely, I'm really happy when there's lots for me to dive into. Obviously, it's
Hmm.
always nice when somebody likes similar stuff to you, but I mean, giving me loads of things for me to seek out
Yeah.
here, especially Chris Whitaker. I feel like I've been hearing about him for so long, so definitely need to get to his books. Shall we, Susie, get into what we're here to talk about, which is Project Hail Mary?
Yes, please.
Hello, folks. Hannah here from the future. I'm editing this podcast and realised that we never actually give a synopsis of Project Hail Mary. So if you haven't read the book or seen the film, I will give you the blurb. Middle school science teacher Ryland Grace wakes up on a spaceship light years from home with no recollection of who he is or how he got there. As his memory returns, he begins to uncover his mission to solve the riddle of the mysterious substance that is causing the sun to die out. He must call on his scientific knowledge and unorthodox ideas to save everything on Earth from extinction, but an unexpected friendship means he may not have to do it alone. There we go. Now you've got a slight bit of context. on with the episode and with the chat. And I hope if you haven't already, you go off and read Project Hail Mary or watch the film and enjoy this discussion all about it. I would love to start by asking when you first read or came across Project Hail Mary, the novel.
Yeah, so I had a little look back actually on my Goodreads. So it was quite handy. I could see when I read it. So the book came out in May 2021 and I read it in May 2022.
Ooh.
So I read it just a year after it was out. I read it on my Kindle. And my review was I gave it 4 stars. And I wrote a review and I said I gave 1 star off because there was too much science.
That is so fair.
But there's a story behind this because I actually almost never read the book because I read The Martian by Andy Weir, which a brilliant book. And again, another actually amazing adaptation
Yeah.
as well. Really, really good. Loved it. 5 stars. Then his next book came out, Artemis. And it was so bad that at one
No.
point I Googled to check, was it the same Andy Weir who had written both books?
Oh my God.
It was like so Artemis has a female protagonist, and I was left wondering if Andy Weir had ever spoken to a woman in his life
No.
from reading that book. It was so terrible that when Project Hail Mary came out, I wasn't sure if I was even going to bother because I was
Yeah.
like, that was so terrible. But because The Martian had been so good, I gave it a go, and I'm glad I did because I really enjoyed it. As I said, 4 stars, loved it. It is quite heavy on science at times,
Yeah.
but I just skimmed over bits and pieces of that when it was too much.
Yes, I think that's fair. I think the great thing about the book is that there's so much dialogue in there, and I think that really helps with gaining some kind of understanding of the science stuff if you're not a science person, which I'm definitely not.
No.
And I find that stuff quite dense and overwhelming. So yeah, I'm the same. I sort of go there, that's kind of too much for me.
Yeah.
And it is such a long book. It's like 480 pages or something. That's too long for me.
I agree. I love a 300 to 350 page
Yeah,
book.
cut it shorter.
Yeah.
280.
Yeah, yeah.
It's,
Although the film, I could have watched it for 24 hours,
oh my
but
God,
we'll get onto
same,
that.
same. Yes, no, absolutely. And I think the interesting thing between the book and the film adaptation is that obviously the book is like 480 odd pages. The film is 2 hours and 37 minutes, I think it is. But obviously, even though it's still a fairly long film where films are concerned, they've still had to cut a few
Yeah.
corners, and it's impossible to cover all ground when they've got a book of that length to work with. I wonder if there was anything that was completely missed out that you felt was a loss. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, I would have liked to have seen more from Eva Stratt. She's
Yes.
the woman who's running the program. And we do see a reasonable amount of her in the movie. But in the book, there's so much more of her that we see and the decisions that she has to make to save Earth by sometimes damaging Earth. You
Yeah.
know, she decides to basically pave part of the Sahara and solar panels.
Yes.
She blows up Antarctica to produce more greenhouse gases to keep the planet warmer, in the vein of, well, we know these are bad decisions, but we'll have to deal with them down the line, as opposed to right now, time is running out for Earth. So I would have liked to see more of that. There's a really cool scene in the book where she kind of gets taken to court by this group, and it's funny because it's kind of plays into something that's going on in the book industry just now about like using books to train large language models for AI. And obviously this book was written before the kind of general AI
Yes.
explosion that's
Yeah.
happened in the last few years. Obviously it was going on in like, privately behind the scenes and stuff. But that whole conversation about OpenAI taking authors' books and using it to train these models,
Yeah.
she does something similar in the book because they decide they're going to give the astronauts that are going on the mission access to every single manual ever created because it doesn't
Yeah.
take up space. And she gets taken to court over that in the
And she
book. I thought
represents herself, doesn't
that
she?
represents
Yeah.
herself, and she basically says, I've come here as a courtesy to you.
I wasn't going to
Um,
turn up, but
Yeah, because this is more efficient for me to come here and just tell you that you cannot prosecute me.
Yes.
Because basically she's been given the green light from governments around the world to just do whatever it takes, and
Yeah.
she is the decision maker.
Hmm.
And I actually just loved that portrayal of like a kind of a middle-aged strong woman being like the lead character, which is funny when I say what I said about his previous book Artemis. He'd obviously
Yes.
met a woman in between reading the two books. But yeah, I would love to. I did love her in the book, and she has some great moments in the movie. Sorry, and she has some great moments that maybe we'll get onto. But
Yeah.
yeah, I would like to have seen more of her. And the other thing was, I get why they did it. You know, the start of the book, it takes Grace, Ryan Gosling's character, a lot longer to work out where he is and why he's there. And there was a lot of the sciencey stuff around how he works out. Whereas in the movie, he kind of wakes up and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm on a spaceship going, to this
Yes.
planet."
I
They would have taken too long, and it's very interior as well. There's a lot of him thinking in the book.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the chapter one of Project Hail Mary, the novel, is, I think, so exciting because you're trying to figure things out with him. And I think, I had an idea of what was happening
Mm.
because I knew this film was coming out. I knew it was set in space. But there's still, if you sort of suspend disbelief for a moment, there's still the what's going on, why these bodies are next to him, what is happening, what is this weird robot thing that's talking at him, what is going on, and he can't, in the film he's immediately allowed access to wherever he wants to gain access to in the ship, but in the book he wakes up and he can't gain access to certain things. He can't sort of explore because the computers, the system's been created so that obviously their memory, because they've been in a coma, has effectively turned to mush, and they're not just going to allow somebody that can't think straight to just have access to this spaceship that's essentially supposed to save Earth. And we just sort of bypass that in the film and we go, no, he can explore whatever he wants and we need to figure this out quicker of where he is, which I understand, but I really loved the sort of development of that in chapter one and how it sort of ends on a cliffhanger. And the line at the very end of chapter one is, there's only one possible explanation, I'm not on Earth. And I just thought that is such a banging final line for the first chapter. And I don't know, I don't know if I sort of missed that there was a bit more of an intensity to him figuring it out. I don't know. Do you think it still works as an opening to the film?
I think it does.
Yeah.
It'd have been a 3-hour movie
Yeah, to
if
be
they had
fair.
to include all that. But I think maybe could have done a little bit more with it. But I do think it works. I just absolutely loved it.
Yes, yeah. I think you were saying as well about the internal sort of dialogue, and I think
Mm,
it is difficult when the first chapter is entirely him talking to himself, being like, "What is happening?" But that's all going on internally. He's not saying these things out loud, so you can't really do that in a film.
yeah.
One of the things that I really missed between the book and the film is I wish that they'd expanded a bit more in the film on the astronaut story. Specifically, is it Martin Dubois? I don't know how you say that name.
Yeah.
So Malachi Kirby plays Martin Dubois in the film, and Liz Kingsman plays Annie. Well, she's Annie Shapiro in the book, but I think in the film they only refer to her as Shapiro. And I found this moment so funny in the book when they sort of have this weird meeting with Dr. Val and Grace, and they sort of announce their sexual relationship to him. And they just don't do that in the film. And I thought that was such a great, considering the film really lent into the comedy aspects, I was really excited for that scene, and it just didn't come, and I was really gutted about that.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I think that's such a funny part of the book, like
Yeah.
because you're like, what is going on? But yeah, that's just their character, and they're getting on with it, and they know they're not going to have a future because they are like one of them. I can't remember which way around is the sub for the other, so one of them
Yes.
will be going off to space, so they're not going to continue this relationship at all. But they're making the most of their time they have left on Earth.
Yeah,
Good on
and
them.
too right, too right. And I think another thing, you were talking obviously about Strat, and she's described in the book as having a commanding presence. And I think they have actually nailed that by casting Sandra
Mm.
Huller. I did think she was brilliant.
I thought she was amazing.
So good, so good. And oh my God, what is the film that she's in? And her husband dies in the film. It was up for an Oscar. Check. I should have written this down. Anatomy of a Fall.
Oh, yes.
And I
Yeah.
remember seeing her in that, and she was
Mhm.
absolutely incredible in that. So when I saw her in this, I thought, I know, we're in good hands here. But she really nails the idea of that character. And I do think it's sad though that we don't see more of her, but I thought what we do see of her on screen was amazing. And I really, really loved the scene of her going on the karaoke and singing Harry Styles' Sign of the Times.
That was like a total moment in the movie. I thought it was
So good. And who
such
would
a
have
perfect
thought a Harry
song.
Styles song would work with?
Do you know that wasn't part of the script?
Really?
Yeah, so there was a karaoke scene, but she wasn't singing in it. But like off screen, she would be singing all the time. And
Oh,
Ryan
wow.
Gosling said, "Oh, she's actually a really good singer. We should get her to sing at the karaoke."
Oh my
And
God.
she chose the song herself to sing.
Oh my God, I love that.
I thought that was like that was one of the best bits of the movie
Yes,
for
yeah.
me. It was like so like emotional when she's
Yeah.
singing that to kind of send them off and you're hearing the words and oh, I just absolutely loved it.
Because I think the thing about that character is that she does have this really like hard
Mm.
exterior, and you might think that she's sort of I don't know, like she's hardened herself to the world, and maybe she has, but she's doing all of these things because she's desperate to save the human race. You know, she wants what's best for everybody, and she's willing to sort of sacrifice anything in order to make that happen. So I do think there is that kind of softness there within her.
Yeah, I think that hardness is just an exterior that she's had
Yeah.
to put on to get the job done. It's why she's been given the job,
Yes.
but it's not, it's not all of her. And she shows a little bit of that softer side there
Yeah.
when she does the karaoke song. Yeah, I just
Yeah.
absolutely loved that bit. Yeah.
There is a really confusing part of the adaptation, and I need you to help me out here, Susie,
Okay.
because is Carl in the book?
No.
Okay,
Or
I'm
if
not
he
going
is, he's
insane.
a very small
I
character.
was like,
But
I have
no,
no recollection of who Carl is.
I suspect he's been put in because, again, the book is a lot of Grace thinking. And I
Yes.
think he's been put in for someone to allow Ryan Gosling to have a conversation with
Hmm.
about things rather than it all being in his head again. But yeah, I loved Carl. I thought he was a brilliant
Oh
character.
my God, me too. So Lionel Boyce, he's been in lots of things, but he is, I think, most well known for The Bear. And I
Hmm.
loved him in The Bear. I thought he was amazing. But yeah, I was like, am I going insane? I had no recollection of him being in the book, but I really, really loved their dynamic in the film. I think it worked really well. And I loved their friendship. And it almost made it really difficult when that decision to just send
Oh,
Dr. Grace up there, and then the final face that he sees is Carl before
I know.
he's
It's
put to sleep.
awful. It was horrible, that bit in the book, yeah, in the movie. Yeah,
Yeah.
I struggled with that bit, because
Yeah.
he's getting so upset about what he
Yeah.
was going to get happen. He's got his little fox cardigan on, But poor Carl, yeah, having to do that. But yeah, Carl was brilliant. I thought all the casting was really amazing, to be honest, because it's quite a small cast.
It is, yes.
And they work really well with each other. I've never really been that fussed about Ryan Gosling before, to be honest. I never
Fair.
really saw that big heel where everyone was like fawning over him. But this time I saw it and I really loved him and I thought he was absolutely amazing.
Also, they knew exactly what they were doing with those little glasses.
Yes, I think the glasses did play a part in it.
Absolutely. No, I was a massive fan of Ryan Gosling when I was younger. I was very much in my teens in a very huge rom-com phase when it came to films. Loved him in The Notebook. And is it Crazy Stupid Love that he was in? Was he in Crazy Stupid Love with Emma Stone?
La La Land, he was in
He
with
was
Emma
in
Stone, definitely. But was he
what is
also in?
Crazy Stupid Love? Well, I'm sure they did two films together. Yes, he is. He is.
Ah, okay.
So yeah, loved Ryan Gosling as a teen. And I found it really interesting because when I was reading the book, obviously I read the book knowing that he was going to be playing that role. And I did think, had I have read this years ago, I don't know if I would have cast him or whether I would have thought he was a good casting. But I take it all back, if I would have had those thoughts, I think he played that role perfectly. I thought he was brilliant as Dr. Rowland Grace. I thought he was amazing. But I don't know. I don't know what it is. My boyfriend was like, "Oh, well, are you maybe saying that a science teacher can't be attractive?" And
Well,
and I was like, I don't know.
I saw an interview with Andy Weir, and he said Ryan Gosling is definitely better looking than the Ryland Grace in the book.
Okay, that makes me feel better. That makes me feel better.
Yeah.
I think as well it's because he's so isolated and
Hmm.
he's quite reclusive and he doesn't necessarily have any relationships. I think in the film they brought in the idea that he'd had a relationship and it hadn't worked out, but in the book, sorry, I don't think there's a mention of a past relationship.
No,
So
don't think so.
very much his life has been his work and then obviously this mission. It doesn't seem that he's got any other relationships outside of that except for maybe like people from work or whatever. So yeah, I don't know if the fact that he's attractive makes it less believable that he wouldn't have any relationships outside of it. I don't know. Am I being
Yeah,
unfair?
I don't know. I didn't worry about that bit of it, to be honest. But I thought he was a perfect casting,
He was
to be
great.
honest, because he played it so well. The funny bits, the emotional bits, the
Yes.
kind of action scenes, the being a teacher with the kids at school, every part of it, I just thought he was absolutely perfect in.
What did you think of the scenes of him as a teacher?
Oh, I liked them. Thought they were good. Yeah, I thought that was believable that, he'd gone to become a teacher because he loved science,
Hmm.
but, he had had a fall from grace,
Yeah.
with a paper that he'd written previously. And all he actually cared about was like teaching kids about science. Yeah, I liked those bits. Did you like them?
Yeah, I did. I was a bit gutted because in the book, I think when the kids start asking him about what's going on, and
Mm.
there's one child in particular that clearly has like a conspiracy theorist parent, and I thought they could have really lent into that in the film, especially with like where we are now currently in the political climate and stuff, and with, there's definitely a lot more conspiracy theorists than there used to be. I think they could have really lent into that in the film, and they just sort of
Mm.
didn't do that. They lent into the sort of hysteria that there would be, but yeah, they lost that kind of child that was like, well, my my dad thinks this is a load of rubbish.
Yeah, and he's tried to reassure the other kids that no, you're okay.
Yes, yeah,
And they're like, no, no, we're all gonna
we're
die.
all gonna
Um,
die.
but ultimately, it's the kids that kind of propel him to do this job,
Yeah.
because I think they're talking about, oh, when they're old, when they're 30, and he realizes maybe they're not going to get to 30.
Yeah, yeah, it is really sad. I think I want to ask about the comedy aspects because I feel like the film really, really leans, and there are obviously funny moments in the book,
Hmm.
which we've mentioned one or two, but I think in the film they really, really do, like there was so many laughs
Yeah.
in the cinema. Do you think that works with all the comedy aspects? Do you think like it worked for the film?
Yeah, I totally thought it worked,
Did you have any
rather.
favorites in terms of the comedy moments?
Yes, I liked when Grace and Rocky were dancing
Oh my God,
together.
don't. Oh my God.
That was
Yes.
one of my favorite bits. I thought that was so funny.
But the final
When
dancing bit is
Yeah, but
emotional.
but then when Rocky has his little party hat on as well.
Oh my God, yeah.
It is
Yeah.
emotional, but it's also funny. And yeah,
Yeah,
I
very
think some of the
funny.
bits with Carl as well were funny
Yes.
too. Yeah, I mean, I only saw it a few days ago and obviously can't remember half of it. But yeah, I was conscious of like people laughing out loud in the
Yeah,
cinema, which I
yeah.
don't think you get as much anymore. And I think it's
No.
hard to get people to laugh out loud.
Yeah, and I don't know if I've necessarily watched. I'm trying to think of any sci-fi films that I've seen, but especially ones set in space. It feels like a lot of them really lean into like the drama and the seriousness of it, and they're
Mm,
like, there's quite an intensity to them. Whereas I feel like, although that intensity was kind of there in some elements of the film, I don't necessarily. I feel like this is the first time I've watched a space film and laughed this much. I don't know
yeah.
if I've had that before.
Have you seen The Martian?
Is that Matt Damon?
Yeah.
I feel like I have, but not for a long time. Is that
Yeah,
funny?
no, I wouldn't say as funny as Project Hail Mary, but it's definitely got like humorous parts in it as well. And actually,
Yeah.
it's the same guy who did the screenplay for both.
Oh, okay. Yes, sorry. I listened to a podcast with Andy Weir and they said they waited to get him because he
Oh,
wasn't
okay.
available when they first wanted him to write the script. And they were like, we'll wait because they
Oh,
loved
that's
what he did with The
interesting.
Martian. Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, there are funny bits in The Martian, particularly around the music that gets played and things like that. Music seems
Okay.
like a big, really important in like both the
Hmm.
movies, I think. So yeah, that's interesting. I kind of assumed the movie had purposely come out now to kind of tie in with a mission to Mars that's currently happening.
Interesting, yes. I
Yeah.
think people are definitely. It's so funny because I've been thinking a lot about this, about how it's crazy the difference between how it was a kind of global event when was it the 60s when
1969,
1969 when I've forgotten his name
Buzz Aldrin, and Neil Armstrong.
went up to the moon.
Yeah,
Yeah,
allegedly.
allegedly. Allegedly. Yeah, that was obviously such a global event, and people were like,
Yeah.
sucked into TVs. They were like gathering the neighbours into the houses, and it was a really exciting event. And then like now, it seems like it didn't have that same sort of fanfare around it. But I feel like Project Hail Mary coming out around the same time, they've sort of both
Yeah.
worked as like perfect marketing things for each other.
I think so. And I
People are
think
so much
maybe
more invested.
I think Project Hail Mary might even have done more for space travel than the Apollo mission.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think it's amazing that it's been so successful. And I do think it's because we need hope right now.
Mm.
And it definitely, for something that is about the world, potentially coming to an end and, life as we know it becoming, us all becoming extinct and like the horrors of that. I think Project Hail Mary, both the book and the film, have so much hope in it, which it could have got very dark, but it doesn't.
Yeah, I agree. And I thought it is quite a heartwarming film in a way
Definitely.
because reality is at the moment, countries are like fighting with each other and
Hmm.
bombing each other. In this book, the whole world is coming together with a
Yes.
common purpose. It's a bit like the pandemic
Yeah.
when, science, advanced so quickly because
Hmm.
people worked together and shared information. It's a little bit like that, and everybody is working with the same goal. I think there's a bit at the start of the book where Ryland's like working in a lab. It's certainly in the book. I'm not sure if it's in the movie actually. And like he finds out there's actually hundreds of people like him working in their own little labs around the
Yeah.
world. And he's dispensable. That's why he's there in the first place. Because, well, if he blows himself up, he blows himself up. And there's like hundreds of other people doing the same job.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing with the book and the film is that in the book, isn't he like Strat's like second in command essentially, and he doesn't know that he is, but then it's sort of revealed to him that
Yeah.
like, oh no, you are
Yeah.
actually way more important than you think you are. But I
Yeah,
don't think they
definitely.
necessarily like that is in the film. I don't think he's of the same level. I didn't get that impression myself anyway.
No, it's certainly not as explicit as in the book. In the book, somebody says something about him being like second in command, and he's like, "What do you mean?" And they said, "Well, of course you are." And he hasn't realized, but he's kind of been there from the start, and he's responsible for the science element behind it.
I think we need to talk about the elite character of this film that everybody
Oh,
has fell in love with, and that is Rocky.
Rocky, amaze, amaze, amaze.
Amaze, amaze, amaze. And they've said it on the is it, oh my god, is that also called
Yes,
Artemis? Artemis 2.
yes,
Yeah, they've said amaze, amaze,
they
amaze on
did.
the
Yeah,
I really enjoyed that. They quoted it.
yeah.
What did you think of Rocky? Tell us your thoughts.
Oh, I mean, I loved Rocky. Big fan. He
Did you
makes
love
the
him in the
movie.
book as well?
Yes,
Yes.
I did. I've loved him wherever he's been portrayed. He's basically a kind of five-legged giant spider made of stone. He's kind of got ET vibes about him,
Yeah,
I
he
think, with his
does.
body. He doesn't have a face. He's really disgusting when he eats, but
Yes.
I absolutely loved him as a character. Yeah, he's the last person left on his ship, but he's been alone for a lot longer.
Yeah.
And Gosling's character has. There's a bit when he talks about how he's got a mate back home,
Oh my god, don't.
and then but he doesn't know if it's still his mate because they'll have had to move on to keep the population of the planet going while he's away.
And there's that really beautiful line about his mate in the film that's like, oh my God, I'm going to absolutely butcher it. Is he like, however many years isn't enough with that person or something? It's like
Yeah.
187 years or something.
Oh,
It's
I
so
know.
gorgeous.
It's so good. And he's like so brave and so clever. I just absolutely would die for him.
When you read the book, did you envision him to look the way that he looked on screen? Like, what was in your head?
I think definitely like a big spider, but I
Okay,
think maybe like black rather than the kind of stone
fair. Yeah.
looking. Yeah.
I find this really funny because I had in my head, I think it was Wally that I had in my head. Yeah, I did. I don't know why,
Oh, so
even
more
though,
mechanical.
yeah, as
Oh,
little
okay.
Wally. And it's really funny because they describe him as like a rock and a spider like several times. So I don't know
Hmm.
why that was in my head. And they even say that he doesn't have a face. So I don't know if it's just really hard for my brain to imagine something not having a face.
Yeah, it is.
But it was really good. I loved what they did with Rocky on screen. And I love that they are learning each other's language. I love that in both the book and the film. And I wondered what you kind of felt their dynamic represented, and the sort of specifically looking at the way they learn each other's languages.
Oh, that's interesting. I thought their dynamic was just like best friends.
Yes, yeah.
Really like the best of friends, soulmates almost without a romantic relationship. You know, they are literally having to trust in each other to not only survive themselves, but to, make sure their own planets survive. I thought the bit about learning each other's language was really cool. I loved how that was portrayed in the movie.
Yeah.
Ryland's got this kind of like a machine, and Rocky will say something in his language, and the machine kind of translates it, and Rocky writes in what that means, and that's how they kind of speak to each other. In the book, I think Ryland is more actually learning the language. He's remembering the sounds that he makes rather than that he can stop relying on the machine as much. Obviously, that maybe doesn't work as well visually for the movie, but yeah, I just absolutely loved them. I thought they were just perfect.
Yeah, me too. I've heard it said many a time that whenever there's a sort of narrative about aliens, that it is kind of looking at, it's sort of a representation of the immigrant experience and how somebody might arrive somewhere, and it's, how they're responded to and how they're treated. And I think especially in the world that we live in now, where there's such an anti-immigrant rhetoric that's trying to be, pushed. I have lots of thoughts on that, but I think this is the sort of perfect film to go against that narrative that's trying to be pushed, in that these people, Rocky and Dr. Alan Grace are working together. They've got the same mission. They've got the same hopes and dreams and wants for their people. They both have people that they love back home. Actually, Dr. Alan Grace doesn't really have.
Not so much.
Well, he loves his children, doesn't he? He loves the children,
yeah.
But he doesn't have that, he's not the same as Rocky, who has an actual mate.
Adrian.
But they have the same things, and they're working together, and it just shows that, if we work together, we actually mostly all want the same things. So I think it is a really beautiful, hopeful story that is really needed in the world right now. And I just loved their dynamics so much. I'd like there to be another film.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I think, you're right. There's more that unites Rocky and Ryland.
Yeah.
Despite their huge differences, and they don't speak the same language. They're not the same species. Interesting, though, Andy Weir did an interview recently. He didn't come off the best in it.
Oh, really?
In that he said, his books aren't political, and that if people are reading things like that in them, that they're reading too much into the story. And I just don't think that's the case. I wonder if he's maybe changed his.
Andy Weir needs to go and have a listen to your Reading is Political series, don't you?
He does, absolutely. But, someone said, has he read his own book? After he'd been on this, he was on a podcast of a kind of right-wing grifter. And basically, maybe he was aligning himself a little bit more to that podcaster. But that's, this book is massively political.
Yeah.
About, like you say, immigration, and just actually together we are better than separate. And we need each other, and we need to rely on each other in order to succeed as a country, a planet. It was that hope that was in it that we just don't actually have in the real world at the moment, sadly.
Yeah, you're so right. I just think their relationship is so gorgeous, and I did wonder in the book whether, and it's so funny because in the book I was thinking, hasn't he kind of given his trust to this alien very quickly? But I don't know, did you feel the same, or did you immediately take to Rocky?
Yeah, I mean, I guess he does give his trust quite quickly. I think, it's obviously a little bit longer in the book than the movie.
Yes,
I think. But I guess there's an element of what else is he going to do?
Yeah.
He's up there on his own. It's a one-way mission. Things aren't going well for him. Here's another being who he has to assume. I think he's able to work out out that Rocky's not from Tau Ceti. That's the kind of planet that they're both
Yeah.
circling
Yeah.
because of the minerals and materials. And he just has to make that leap of faith that
Yeah.
this person, that this being, on a rescue mission for their planet as well. And they
I
have
think
to work together.
and they do communicate before they actually meet. So they communicate. I
Yeah.
think in the book they do it through lights, and then in the film it's this weird little zoom in back and forth past each other. And they realise that there's like a friendly sort of playful dynamic there, and that it's not kind of, anything that you need to be afraid of. I think in the film, Dr. Ryland Grace is more conscious of Rocky being afraid of him rather than the other way around. But yeah, I really, really loved how they get to know each other and the sort of language. I love that Rocky speaks in like music. I
Yeah.
think that's so cute. And everyone says like, you need to stop calling him cute because he's like hundreds of years old. But I'm like, but he is so cute.
He is cute. He is cute.
And I love when he gets in. One of my favorite moments is when he gets into he makes himself the little ball, and he's like, oh, like he's got this now. He's going to be safe in Grace's spaceship, so he can roll himself in, and he starts coming through, and he's like, mess, mess, mess.
He's going
So much mess.
crazy.
Yeah, and he's so excitable. And my boyfriend was like, that feels like watching you come into a room.
It's like when you like release a puppy into a room or something.
Yeah.
They just like go, they have that mad half hour,
When they've got
dogs go
zoomies.
crazy. Yeah, exactly. He had the zoomies in his ball and he was causing chaos in a place that you don't really want to be causing chaos.
No, definitely
Yeah,
not.
that was a funny bit.
It was so good. And I also loved the behind the scenes fact that when Ryan Gosling was filming the scenes with him and Rocky, he would occasionally, to switch things up a bit, have his daughter speaking to him via an earpiece. So his reactions were genuine to Rocky, which I love that. I also love, this is going back to Strat, there's a clip I saw of an interview that Ryan Gosling gave where he was asked what it was like working with Sandra Huller, and he said that she's one of his favourite people that he's worked with, and he said the first ever scene that they filmed was them walking across the car park when she's initially trying to get him to come with her, and right before they called action she turned to him and whispered, I'll race you to the bike, and then he was like, wait, what? So then they're immediately coming in with that energy, which is amazing as an actor. Like,
Yeah.
it really adds something to that scene. And you can actually, when I heard him say that, I was like, oh my God, I remember them like really scurrying towards the bike. I thought it was so fun. So yeah, I loved, even though their dynamic gets a bit heated, I did love Grace and Strat, but I really love Grace and Rocky. And I wouldn't be mad if there was a film solely of Rocky.
I mean, there could be.
There could
'Cause
be.
The ending allows another story to be told
It
afterwards.
does.
Yeah.
Did you like that? I think they stayed fairly close with the ending of the book and the film. Did you like that they did that?
Yeah, I thought the ending was pretty good.
Yeah.
Like as in aligned to the book. I think it maybe actually closes off a little bit more about what happens than the book does, because I think in the book you don't necessarily know if his information returns back to Earth.
Yes.
If I
Yeah.
remember correctly. And I think when you see him on Erid, it's a longer period of time that he's
Yeah,
been
in
there.
the book it's like he's been there 16 years.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think the people on Erid tell him that the sun has been cleared of astrophage or something. Like
Astrophage, yeah.
there's something that you kind of know that
Yeah.
something's
Yeah.
worked, but you don't know specifically that they've seen his stuff that he's sent back.
Yeah, I did really like the ending of the book. I liked, some of the small details that, like when you see Strat back on the kind of the big ship, she's visibly a lot older than she was, and a lot older
Yes.
than Ryan Gosling is.
Yeah.
And I saw a little explainer of that, that's because of the way that time works when you're traveling faster than
Yeah.
the speed of light. So it would have been a lot longer for her
Yeah.
than it was for him. And there's another little detail in the movie as well where she has a tattoo on her neck.
Oh.
And it's of a V with a line through it. And the thinking is that the V was for life in prison. So that after he left, so there's this whole other story that isn't in the book or the movie, but has been kind of imagined, that she did eventually get tried and was sentenced to life in jail.
Oh my God.
In a French jail. I think that's why it's the V. But somehow she is no longer in jail. So whether she has escaped or has been released, we don't know. But that's that's what the tattoo on her neck is meant to represent. That in all this time while he's been away, she's had this whole other experience that we don't know anything about. And I thought that was so interesting.
I love it when
Yeah.
people come up with other theories for stuff.
Yeah.
I definitely need to deep dive into them. I wanted to ask you if you cried watching the film.
No, but I'm not a crier.
Okay, fair. Were there
Yeah,
any
but
moments that you were particularly moved by?
oh, yes. I mean, when Rocky breaks out of his ball to come and save
Oh, and he's
Grace.
so frantic and he's making all the noises and he's so like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's really sad to watch.
And then his whole recuperation when you
Yeah.
don't know if he's going to make it or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I really enjoyed when Grace first hugs him and he's like,
Yeah.
how long, how long
Yeah.
does this continue? But then the hug that he immediately gives to him when he seems okay again and he wakes him up
Yeah.
oh God, it's so emotional. And I think as well, the dancing that they do at the start is so beautiful
Yeah.
and how they repeat that when they say goodbye is
Yeah.
just,
Oh,
oh God.
did you cry?
Yeah, I cried when they were doing the dancing to say goodbye, and I cried when when Strat is watching his recording, because I
Mm.
thought, basically, I was trying my hardest to get the book read before I watched the film, and I was even reading it in the car up until we got to the cinema, and I got to the point where they say goodbye to each other. So I knew that they were going to say goodbye, but I
Mm.
didn't know that he was going to come back to find Rocky. I didn't know any of that. I just thought they've said goodbye to each other, and I thought he was going home. So when I watched the film and they had that moment, I thought, oh my God, he's dead. He's dead. Like he's not come back. And I was like horrified because I knew there was obviously the issue of like food and was he going to have enough food. So I got really upset, and then obviously he's alive. So I got upset for no reason. But yeah, I found those two moments really emotional. But I think ultimately, like, it does have a really happy and hopeful ending.
It does, yeah.
Um,
Do you know that's Cornwall where the ending is filmed?
Stop, is it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God, I didn't know that. I
Mm.
really love as well that he even after he's done all these amazing, incredible things, he
Yeah.
still wants to be a teacher.
Yeah, that's where his heart lies. Yeah. Oh, it's such a fun, uplifting ending
It
after
is.
what is a total roller coaster of emotions throughout the film.
Yeah, 100%. Is there anything that we've not touched on that you want to squeeze in?
Let me think. I think I absolutely loved the bit. My favorite part of the movie was actually when Grace is sending the fishing line down to the Petrova line on Erid to collect the sample of the astrophage in with the contaminants in it, and that's how they're going to save the planets.
Yes.
And that's, when Rocky bursts out his ball and everything like that. But
Yes.
just the cinematography of that whole section is
Yes.
absolutely out of this world.
Incredible.
And there's no CGI in that.
Is there not?
No, there's no CGI in the movie, apparently.
Oh my God, I love that. Yeah, you're so
Yeah.
right. That cinematography is incredible.
Yeah, the colors when it's green and then it goes pink.
Yes,
I just was like, yeah, that is like the image of the movie that will stay with me
gorgeous.
throughout. Absolutely loved it.
How
Loved
do you
his card.
think sorry, I'm gonna squeeze in a question here. How do you think you would cope in space?
Oh, terrible.
Yeah.
Terribly. I mean, first of all, I'd probably have a panic attack with just getting the helmet on, even when I wasn't in space,
I'm gonna
because
die.
because whenever I've done like go-karting, which is not very often, and we've got those helmets on, they make me so claustrophobic, and I
Fair.
just
Yeah.
cannot wait to get it off. I would be terrible. I mean, I get travel sick.
Yeah.
I've just been an awful astronaut. I'm no good at science. I would be
You reminded
terrible.
me because that moment when he has to go around and get the thing and he is like literally tethered by like a rope. And it's
Yeah.
like you could just fall into nothingness
Yeah.
so easily. Like, how are you comfortable even doing that? Because I'd be losing my mind. I'd be so terrified. I get scared
Uh,
going on climbing walls if I
yeah, I'm
get
a
too high
wimp.
up.
Like, I could not do any of that stuff.
Terrifying. Sorry,
Yeah.
what were the other moments that you wanted to
Oh, I was
mention?
just gonna had to mention his cardigan,
Oh,
really.
gorgeous. I want that cardigan. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the other highlight of the movie for me. I would like one of those.
And his
Yeah,
glasses.
no, yeah, his glasses. Loved it. Just loved the whole. Honestly, I'm so glad I was chatting to you about this because this is now one of my favorite adaptations. No, it
Oh,
said
I
at the
love that.
start, but this for me is like 5 stars, 4 stars for the book, 5 stars for the movie. And actually, I haven't said that I recently listened to, for this. I listened to the audiobook,
I've heard it's
and
very
the
good on
the
audio.
audiobook 5 stars
Oh,
as well.
wow.
So I think if you were going to read the book, my recommendation would be to do it as the
The
audiobook because it's
audiobook.
brilliant.
So the conclusion is that you loved the film more than the book. You
Yes.
enjoyed the book, but you loved the film more.
Yeah,
I think
physical book 4 star, audiobook, let's say 4.5 star, movie 5 star.
I agree. I've not listened to the audiobook, but I enjoyed the book and I'm really glad that it got me to read some sci-fi because
Mm,
that is a genre that I've completely neglected. So I'm glad that I read it, but the film I thought was amazing.
yeah.
And who would have thought I would enjoy a film about space so much?
Well, I'm just relieved that you did enjoy it because I was worried that I was putting you through something that maybe wasn't for you.
You did send me a couple of messages like, how are you getting on with it? Did you think
It's
you were
good
going to
to
be in
read
trouble?
outside your normal genres. I
It
don't read a
is.
lot of sci-fi either, but that's good. And The Martian is brilliant as a book as well, I would say, if you, but still
Okay.
quite sciencey too. Again,
Yes.
just skim over some of those bits, but really good.
Okay, amazing. This has been so much fun,
I've
Susie.
loved
Thank you
it.
so much for joining me to chat about Project Hail Mary. I have loved this. And listeners, please do let us both know what your thoughts are on the film and the book. We would love to hear them. You can find me at Pair of Bookends Pod on Instagram, so DM me there. And where can they find you on Instagram, Suze?
At In My Good Books Pod.
Amazing. Lastly, what would you like to plug?
Well, please, listen to the podcast.
Yes,
But
please do.
other things that I've enjoyed, I just watched on Prime Bait with Riz
Oh
Ahmed.
my God, I'm so excited
Yeah.
for this. I really, really want to watch this.
It was so good. Binged the whole thing. I think it's like 6 episodes, 25-minute episodes. It's so funny. He is playing an actor who's maybe not dissimilar from who he is in real life, but he's up to be like the first Asian James Bond, essentially, is the
Yes.
premise of the movie. And it's all about his family's reaction to that, what he's having to do because he has an audition right at the start that does not go well. So how's he going to get this part? Because his mum thinks he's going to be the next James Bond. It's just really funny, like really smart. Lots of funny actors in it. I
I
loved
think
it.
he's been trying to get this made for like 10 years or something
Oh,
crazy like that.
really?
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure I heard that on another podcast, but I think it's such a cool concept.
Hmm.
And I think this podcast said that it also explores like the racism that he faces when the news comes out that he's going to be the new James
Yeah.
Bond. So I think it's like a very topical and relevant series for now and something that I really want to watch. I rate him so much as an actor. I think he's incredible. So
Yeah.
that's a great recommendation. Well, listeners, as I said before, you can find Susie's podcast in my good books, wherever you get your podcasts, but I will be linking in the show notes. I recently listened to Heather Parry on the Reading is Political mini-series that Susie has, and it is a great listen. So I would really recommend that episode as a starting point, but there's lots of other amazing episodes in there. And lastly, thank you so much, Susie, for joining me today. This has been an absolute dream.
Thank you so much. And a new episode coming up soon with yourself in it as well. So
Yeah.
I've loved it. I've loved
Oh,
this. It's been so much fun. Thank you so much for inviting me on.
thank you so much, and hopefully we can see you again in the future.
Definitely.
Thank you so much, Susie, and thank you, listeners, for listening. Goodbye.